This should be good coming from Powell. I'd like to hear. Every once in a while, it's like I can't disagree with Biden's play. I'm sure Powell has a lot to do with it, given entropy. I'm sure his black tile is somewhere around in here.
Stop waiting. Start
With that
investing.
said, we'll see about the demographic of how holy evangelist you are, because really that's the thing that busts your tulip market for me, Paul. I don't know, I don't see enough of you getting out there talking recently. I like the local.
Get a meaningful recovery in labor force participation, and also whether running the economy hot, like in the last.
You have a problem with inflation every time you bring in a person with inflation. A company that doesn't do that number right has issues on this 45 line. Individual site location, England angle, Oilers number, overhead camera, time fraud, work fraud, slipping into the Supreme Court, Penn's Row, patent design, intellectual property fair usage, moral contracts, and DCG. Gambit.
That really, why is it low is the question. So there are a bunch
As
of answers,
DAD,
and all of
tip
them
of the
probably
spear
have some,
for
some validity. Part of it will be that people, for certain people, they don't want to go back in the labor force because either they're medically vulnerable or they're not comfortable going back. While
the game
COVID
in the
is
mill
still
is the
everywhere.
back.
That's one thing.
The guy with a broken back, broken leg, and Stonehenge. Energy is if you only are a unitasker and can get the guy to do can'ts, then you're not a very good business owner. It's good to rotate your skills and give a piece of that skill ratio in case of rainy days. And you do that over time based on, well, Kenyan dollars, American dollars, NTFs, time, space, working in the mill. A lot of this is faith. Let's be honest, people. Paul, I wish you'd come out and say them. It's like, look, if you wanted to force this number, this is what that number will be based on. It's like business owners inside here, people getting crushed and killed, wars getting started based on these transitory Feynman diagrams and how you would play them like photon, transitory, cyclical, hedging, manifold, and geodesic roll for staminas. Here's the board. I'm going to try to explain to you guys that that's an option. And you would want dark web. Dark web people, MS-13, call them out. It's like anybody that's not in here didn't see Vice in Ukraine and kind of understands that moment right there happens. And sometimes the seed element of all the costs and the bullshit can be dried up with something like that because fuckstick's in charge. And calculus and math is the hard line. Pack your shoe. You'd want to use those because the number indexes. With that said, it is a critical fist fucking out there, and the number in calculus is that from a Fed perspective, passing through the Penn's Row of economics and engineering and all that stuff, that you're still just a guy doing information limited to the desk. That when you're gonna ask somebody like Powell like that, I bet you that's what you'd feel inside of there, grinding around the desk, working numbers, looking at charts, and it'd probably be a full-on 8, 16, 20-hour day. And at this point, the Olympics of that should be why you'd see him in here and Yellen's numbers a lot, but not so much the defense secretary. However,
if some of the
clearly
reason that labor force participation isn't back to February 2020 levels because people are voluntarily making life decisions that are different, does that make you think we're going to end up at a lower rate overall?
No, being that you just asked the question that sometimes the defense secretary asked, and at the same time, ipso facto, the defense secretary might ask a question from your perspective in the way that diminishes it and wouldn't really necessarily describe what this is. But what you asked was a question about adding one step to Bernoulli overall to one of these numbers, 63, 73 megaparsecs, the LAGO, and the Space Center over for the Navy over there, Astrology Center. Yeah, you can. Any two of those together will tell me what 3 is, but for sure when I get 3 of them at least on here, it's not so bad. We got some issues with Merck and stuff that made some issues. Fallovium out here, and the God particle Higgs shows up because 666 outside might as well be Doomslayer Village for lots of reasons. And again, it's a little thing of combinations of all that dark matter inside here that correlates to why this danger noodle moves that way. Why, as a whole,
to people
military,
at the bottom,
Russia,
and the wage
China,
spec over the
America,
last couple of
everybody
years, there was just a
uses
lot of
this
really
index and
desirable
tries not to
aspects
have to
of a
screw
labor
around
market
with it
like
too
that.
much without
Higher
thinking about
participation
expansive growth before we
is
say,
one of
I'm going to
them,
hold your
and we'd
button.
love to get back there.
Kind of feels like
again,
we're outside,
ultimately,
but we're no,
we have the
because the
tools that we
difference is,
have,
again,
which are essentially to
America as a whole, I
stimulate
don't know how they're
demand and
playing
also
it in
to
China or
control
Russia right now,
inflation. I
so
mean,
I'll put you
really,
out here. And in
might
those
be
moments, no
one of the
masquerade.
two
This
big
is the
threats
dance.
to
This
getting
is
back to maximum
an
employment is actually
execution
high
at this point in
inflation.
time
Because to get
of a
back to where we
task,
were,
right? You know, how does the
evidence
readjustment and
grows that
renormalizing
it's
go
going to
of
take
this
some time.
point? And we're going to follow through with
what we
that
need is
because
another
this shouldn't have
long
happened.
expansion
We
like the
wouldn't
ones
put
we've
you
been
out
having
here in
over
these
the last 40
circumstances. And
years.
you
We've had,
notice
I think,
carefully,
3 of the 4 longest
sometimes that's
in
an
recorded
issue.
history, including
Because
the
this
last one,
number
which was the
will
longest in
reflect
our
very
recorded history.
different things to
That's
some
what
of
it would
us
really
who
take
really
to
understand the
get
phase
back
order of
to
the
the kind of
trigonometry
labor
on
market
on
we'd
this
like to
little
see.
spin
And
mass
to have that happen,
spin
we need
mass
to make sure that we
direction or
maintain price
momentum that this
stability.
thing might be, utilized on, or why, given positives, bosons, so on and so forth, that at those levels, however we were about to tackle at that's what it becomes. So we're here, we play that game like that. You fundamentally ask a question from the generals model. It should be the widest range of standard options, short of what you would expect the simulator to be. Most commonly, you would expect yes, hun. We have covered that answer. It was specifically brought up from what we should be able to do from keyword searches. What are common keywords by sectors that you can program this to efficiently quicker, right? I don't have to do it once, and once I know it once, then it's that's a 7-week process plus programming. That programming might take you 6 months to do it, but as you're hammering out it again through multiple of those operations, then you get this done, and then you can let it turnkey. That's like having Excel for pattern calculators and tread calc and cut coefficients and stuff like that done. I don't necessarily have to hardline or doing all the adding and subtracting for me because I might be dealing with a large set of numbers like that. So you would say individually food sectors, you would say schools, you would say anything in there, and why does one power vacuum more than the other without some sensible YF over X under that mechanics, because then the spin direction's all screwed up when it's pre-logged to go into the pipe exotic matter, a school, a church, a hospital, whatever you may have, bar, stoplight, influence. And then it gets going like that, and what happens in there is sometimes the marketing on things like a cold pill that you eat, which is going to go into your stomach acid. It's probably not a inert virus at that point in time, and even if it was, it would still be broken down into all the subparts of a virus that would be broken down into their bond states. Now there might be a special state of energy or entropy by that, surface of the sun dynamics, liquid hydrogen, Jupiter over there. Obviously not here on Earth, and water being a hard thing to find. Helen Keller, 1420, 1720. You get out there, and again, there might be actions at spooky distance or superpositions of the ways that can be presented to you in orientation. So it's not just field theory, it's a stone mill, or it's your desk at an economics position, but that desk is the same 45 that a Kant guy does, or this other person does. And what's spooky about that action at a distance right there, if you get enough of the numbers going down, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So we keep an eye on that. Sometimes too much, sometimes not enough. Sometimes the operator is up, down, up, and down.